Welcome to the Books Between Friends podcast.
3 lifelong friends,
one shared obsession.
Books.
From epic fantasy to page-turning thrillers.
We dive into the stories we love
And the ones we just can't stop talking about.
So take a seat,
Grab a drink,
and get cozy.
All right, you guys. Speaking of cozy, what has been keeping you cozy this week? So for me, as you guys might know, I always have my nails done. And it's always like a monthly ritual for me to like go get my mani-pedi. And this month I decided I was going to go for like a more fall themed vibe because I usually do like bright colors. So that's been keeping me cozy this week. I did this color called Vintage. So it's this like shimmery copper color. And it's just nice to like have a little pamper day and
I love that. I love that color
do
on
that
you.
to feel cozy.
Vintage. So adorable.
Thanks.
Gretchen. Wait, no.
No, that's Regina.
Regina says that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. My bad.
Those are the ugliest effing nails I've ever seen in my life.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh, I love your nails.
Where did you get them?
But I actually do like your nails.
Yes, I do
Thank
too.
you.
So for me this week, book friends, I have been a little sick for the past few days. So the thing that's been keeping me cozy has been medicine and my bed. I will say
Sometimes that's all
today,
you need.
I know. I will say today has been the first day where I actually wanted to get out of bed and I actually got something to eat and whatever. These past few days have just been like in bed, sleeping, trying to fight off the fever. So it's been like not fun, not cozy, but laying in bed. I mean, I have a great bed, so I'm not complaining. But that's all that's been keeping me cozy, y'all.
Love it.
Well, I'm
love
glad you're
it.
feeling better.
Yes. And if you're watching, you can tell by the lovely state of my hair that I'm also not feeling that great. I wasn't feeling great. Last week had a little bit of a feel better day. And ever since then, my allergies have been keeping me down.
Mhm.
Plus, probably what's mixed in there a little bit too is I just got some vaccines. So that's probably helping me
Oh, yeah.
feel a little gross too. So to combat that and keep me cozy, I don't know, 3rd week in a row just reading. Like I've just been in my reading era and really enjoying it. I know that
I'm so
gets a
happy
little
for you.
boring
Hey.
to say.
No, it's not.
But yeah, like I've been reading Blood Over Brighthaven, loving that, obviously. I finished the tandem read in Throne of Glass, finally. And so I'm excited to start Kingdom of Ash soon. And I'm still reading some horror, and I'm really enjoying that too.
Nice.
So it's just a really good book season. Good, but oh my God. Good book reading season.
You know, yeah, we're over here wearing our hoodies, guys. Like, we're staying cozy as we're recording this episode. But honestly, I just
Always.
think it's 6th season. It could not even get an appointment with my doctor with how busy they are.
Yeah.
But the doctor on the phone said, hey, sounds like you have the flu, so just rest. I'm like, cool. My brother's also sick, but he actually tested positive for COVID. So I think people are just sick.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
well, it's like the start of flu season, so this is your reminder, everyone. Get your flu shot.
I
It's a
got
reminder for me too,
it.
because I have a bunch of people around me that are sick or have gotten sick.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta go do that.
I got the flu shot like a week ago. But the thing
Well-
is, like, that's happened to me before. Even with the flu shot, I still get the flu. It just doesn't hit you as hard.
It's not as bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can still get it. Doesn't mean you won't, but it won't take you out for an entire week. So,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
a few days, whatever. I'm so excited to be here, though. I'm glad that I had the energy to get up and record today because I cannot wait to talk about this book, y'all. Cannot wait.
I know.
Oh my God, you
It's
guys,
gonna be a good
like,
discussion.
Yeah.
I can't wait either. But before we start our discussion, we'll segue. I'm going to kick it over to Ethan to give us a little spoiler warning before we dive in.
Yes. So if you haven't heard us chomping at the bit here, obviously you can tell there will be some spoilers up ahead. If you're listening to this episode, we're assuming that you've read the first 12 chapters of Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang. There are going to be some major spoilers throughout, so just make sure that you've read those chapters first before listening to this. Again, through chapter 12. And again, asking for those Apple podcast reviews. We love seeing those come through. It helps us out on the show as well. And also outside of Apple, please feel free to interact with us on our social media. One such follower on Instagram, Maria in Libros, thank you so much for the shout out that you gave us. We're glad you enjoyed our Onyx Storm episodes. It was our first big deep dive, and we enjoyed every second of it, especially our theories and predictions. So we hope that you enjoyed all of that as well. So thank you for the love you show on our Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Maria. And I love that name too, Maria and Libros. That's
Yes.
perfect.
Hey, book friends, it's Ethan. When I think about cozy reading essentials, slippers are at the very top of the list. A while back, I got my first pair of Bombas gripper slippers, and honestly, I wasn't expecting them to feel all that different from the other brands that I'd tried. But here's the thing. These are next level. They keep my feet warm and toasty without ever looking frumpy, so I can curl up with a book feeling both cozy and stylish. Bombas just knows how to do comfort right. And the best part is that for every item you buy, they donate one to someone in need. Since we're affiliates with Bombas now, we've dropped our link right into our newsletter. So if you're ready to upgrade your cozy essentials, be sure to subscribe and check it out there. You can always find the link in our bios on all of our social media accounts. We are Books Between Friends Pod across all social media platforms. It's a small way to support the show while keeping your toes happy. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Okay, awesome. So, again, as we like to do, I'm going to go over a little bit of a summary of these 6 chapters that we read for this section. So we start off with an explosion that happens in the labs that forces Sayana and some of the other high mages in her department to not be able to use their labs. And when that happens, Renthorn offers for all of them to work in his lab because conveniently for him, his lab was not affected by this suspicious explosion. And he offered that because most of them are all working on this barrier expansion project. And so he said, might as well. Most of the other high mages who were affected by the explosion actually took him up on his offer, but Sayana refused, deciding to work instead in Bringham's labs because she could sense there was potentially some tampering going on with the equipment that one of the high mages was using. Still not sure if that is true, but she just suspected Renthorn of that. And then we fast forward a couple months and they're just a week away from presenting their proposals for the barrier expansion project. And Sayana is a little frustrated that she hasn't really been able to, advance as much as she would have liked in her research. And so Tom Hill suggests to her that she should alter the traditional lines of mapping spells, which is something that is actually forbidden according to Terrassian religion. But she's been trying to get a clearer image of the other realm to source the amount of energy they're going to need for this barrier expansion project. And so she explained to Tom Hill that there are these restrictions put on spells, mapping spells, that she finds is kind of, what's the word? She can only get her image so clear and not any more clear because of these restrictions. So anyway, he suggests that she removes those lines in her spells and she decides to try to do that. So they continue to do research and their research actually starts to spark some debates back and forth between them about the founding of Tyrion and whether or not the knowledge that Leon used to base all his writings about the principles of magic was stolen or revealed to him by God, as is taught in Tyrion religion. Tom Hill also tells Sayana about the true meaning of the Quen word Maedra. So this is a word that Raheem called her on that first night that they went out for drinks. But Tom Hill explained to her at that time that it just meant like a mage in the Quen language. But now he tells her that it actually means a female mage, and in the Quen culture, all mages and high mages were all women. So that's a big revelation about the history of magic within the Quen culture.
Yeah, for sure.
And then something he also reveals to her is that Leon and the other founders, when they were writing their text on magic during the Age of Founders, they actually dismiss all the Maedra as witches and said that their form of magic was primitive and didn't compare to what the high mages and the magistry were doing. So, obviously this is hitting Sayana in the heart of her beliefs and like who she is and what she stands for. So all of these revelations that came from Tamil just keep like churning in her brain, and it leads her to do even further research on the Quen and their method of performing magic. And she discovers that one of the founding mages was actually half Quen. His name was High Mage Stravos. So using his methods, she was able to sharpen her spells. And then when she removed those traditional feign lines, she was able to reveal a clear picture image of the other realm. And what they saw when she did this was a snowy field. And Tamil recognized that as the Quen immediately. And when she siphoned energy from a bush in this field, it lit up with a bright white light and completely disintegrated. Horrified after seeing this, Tamil threw the spellograph that Sayana was using and yells, "That was blight." Dun dun dun. This was huge.
Mind blown here. Like
Literally,
huge
yeah.
moment. I read
Oh
this
my
and was
God.
like
Yeah. My stomach fell out of my butt at that point when I was reading this section. It was crazy.
oh my gosh.
Anyway, after that, Tamil rushes out of the lab, and when Sayana catches up to him, they start to argue about what it is they saw. Tamil was telling her, "That is the Quen. I recognize those lands. That's the Quen. That is blight. That's what happened." And she refused to believe him. And they go back and forth several times about this, but she just didn't want to accept the truth. And so, determined to prove that he was wrong, she went back to her lab after he just left the conversation and left the Magic Center altogether. She went back to her lab. She pulled out a spare spellograph that she had in her lab and tried another spell on her own. So, using that new method that she kind of just engineered by using Stravos's mapping skills and then removing those traditional lines in her spells, she was able to actually open another window onto a beach. And then she tried out another spell, and unfortunately, she witnessed her spell cause a woman to almost disintegrate, because while it was happening, she realized what was happening and she tried to stop it, but unfortunately she didn't stop it soon enough, so she didn't completely disintegrate, but the damage was enough that she was definitely not going to survive. So, overcome with guilt, she has a complete meltdown at her lab, and she's screaming and crying, so much to the point that they had to actually break down her door to her lab to get to her. And then Brigham takes her to an empty classroom in his facilities to try to calm her down. And then when Sayana tells him about what happened and what she accidentally did to that woman on the beach, he insists that it must have been a Saburnan curse. So remember, Saburnan is the traitor mage who was executed some time ago for siphoning from the forbidden coordinates. And so Brigham is telling her it must have been one of his curses that made her just see an illusion, and that couldn't have been what she saw. And she knows in her gut that that couldn't be the case. Like, she knows that she was using equipment or spellographs that were from after Saburnan's time. She was using her own spell paper. She just invented a new mapping method. So there's no way it could have been the way she wrote her spell. She just knows there's no way what she saw didn't actually happen. So anyway, Bingham sends her home to rest for a couple days, and back at Aunt Winnie's, she just continues to spiral further, like just still overcome with grief and guilt. And, I can't even imagine what she was feeling in that moment, to the point where she actually climbs up on the ledge of the window in her bedroom and almost jumps out. But before she was able to do so, her cousin Alba comes and stops her from doing it. Meanwhile, we go back to Tom Mill and where he's at. He is sitting on the ledge of the water tower on top of his building, angry at himself mostly for trusting Sayana at all. And, expecting her to, as she had promised to him, always want the truth from him. As he's contemplating all of this and just angry at himself for it, his niece, Kara, shows up to check on him. And he decides to tell her everything that happened and what they discovered in the lab about the blight and the other realm. And that prompts Kara to just completely rage at the city as it began a new day. So that's where we're at. So now we're going to hop into our discussion. And again, just as a reminder, we're doing a 3-2-1 structure. So it's going to be, first, we're going to give 3 things that stuck out to us, then 2 character moments, and then 1 theory or prediction to round it up. So to start, my first of the 3 things that I wanted to talk about is the barrier. Knowing what we know now. I don't think I mentioned this in my summary of this section, but essentially, we also now know that the forbidden coordinates are the city of Tyrion. That's why you're not allowed to siphon from those coordinates, because that would cause damage inside of the city. So my question is, does it actually protect Tyrion from anything other than blight? What's the need for expanding the coordinates? Why do we need more energy to expand the barrier if all it is just like an area where you can't siphon from? Or is there something I'm missing here? Like, can you guys help me figure that out?
So I was thinking about that too. I really think that the reason they're expanding is just because their society is probably growing, just because of all the refugees and the people that they're taking in from outside of the barrier, right? But yeah, I agree. Like, the forbidden coordinates are just so that you don't kill within Tyrion, and so it's protecting themselves from themselves, right?
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I do feel like there's a lot more out there, a lot more society out there that they're not talking about, because it makes it seem like,
for
I think,
sure.
Ethan, you brought up that point in our first episode where you were like, is there anything out there? Is it just all barren? Are people all dead? Or like, what's going on? And it's like, no, I think there's like full societies out there, full people, like there's still tribes and stuff living outside of that area, especially since they're needing more energy to siphon from, right? So yeah, I mean, I think that they just need to expand it because their own like little society is growing, and they just need to expand the area where they can't siphon from.
Yeah. I'm just confused that in the first 6 chapters, when Sayana was explaining the project to Tom Mill, she made it seem like they would need so much more energy to expand the barrier. So that part's confusing me a little bit. But yeah, we know for sure that there are definitely more societies out there than just Tyrion, but they're also way more advanced than the powers that be in Tyrion are making them seem to be. In fact, it seems like they stole their entire magic system from the Queen.
Yeah. What if they're using this as an excuse to just keep killing off all the people? Like,
That's what I was thinking. Because what is the point of needing to expand the barrier? And I think this kind of rolls into my first point. I think we just gave it 2 different names because you're talking about the barrier and I'm talking about the blight.
Right.
What is it, knowing, like you said, knowing what we know now? There's no need for the barrier. Like, so what is it doing there? Like,
hey guys, guess what? Have you heard the good word? We can completely get rid of the blight. There's no need for a barrier, right?
But I mean, like, they're using it as a cover for what they're doing, right? They're saying that they need to have this barrier to protect them from something that doesn't actually exist, but they're using
from themselves.
Right, but they're using it to kill off everybody else because, hello, like, what we have learned that you're trying to kill off generations of history, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's the only thing that they're trying to do is just like, if they eliminate the rest of the population, then they eliminate the possibility of them being discovered as to what they're doing.
So you need to have something to call it, whatever that is, right? To get people off your back, so that way they're not always waging war against you because, hey, your magic use actually kills me. So it would be great if you could stop that, please. Thank you.
Yeah. It's also instilling fear in them too. It's like, hey, look, we're here to protect you. Look, we have to expand now just to keep protecting you.
Well, okay, so why put all of these high mages on this project to expand the barrier? Like, this is getting close to the heart of what they're trying to conceal here with their magic.
Hmm.
And so, like, someone was bound to figure it out at some point,
Yeah, why
you
put
know?
so many eyes on it? It seems very risky.
Yeah, yeah. So that also
Unless
leads
you
me to
just assume that you
question,
can
like,
have.
who all is in the know of this, you know?
But I mean, they're controlling that by only allowing the men to do this, right? And it seems to me, I don't know, that the men in this university are following like the letter of the book, right? And so they're only going to
And
allow
their
them,
religious texts.
right? They're only going to
Hmm.
allow them to access those texts. None of them have ever wanted to push past those barriers like a woman would, right? Especially a woman who wasn't supposed to really be there. So now it makes me still question like why Brigham pushed so hard for her to be there.
Yeah, so
So many questions.
I know, and I'll talk more about him later on, but
Hmm.
yeah, like, because there is a conversation that Tamil and Sayana have, and it revolves around that concept of women's role.
Right.
And
Hmm.
and I kind of bristled at it at first. I was like, well, that's very, I don't know, that's very one-sided, a one-sided way to look at women and to look at men for that matter. Like you're that women had the capability of being compassionate
Mm.
and caring. And that's why they were often the magic users, right? Like
Right.
the
They
idea
use their
of
magic to
Maitra,
protect their families and their culture and their society.
right? And so I was like, if that's the case, that would make a strong case as to why women haven't been valued or not given the opportunity to rise up in the ranks. Because if one comes and one is compassionate, it could ruin this whole thing of what we're trying to do, whatever that thing is.
Right, right.
Yeah. And that I'm glad, was it you, Ethan? You brought up Bingham. That leads me to my second
Both of
point.
us, yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned before, like I'm also questioning who all knows this truth. Like some
Hmm.
like there have to be keepers of the truth to keep that locked down, you
Oh
know?
yeah, for
Right.
sure.
So this interaction between Bingham and Sayana just didn't sit well with me, and I don't know what to make of it. I can't decide. Like, what do you guys think? Is he gaslighting her with this whole like, oh, it must have been a curse. You just saw an illusion.
I 100% think that all the what is it, archmages, whatever,
Uh-huh.
they all know. They have to know. For them to be in that kind of seat, they have to know. Like there's no way that he doesn't know. And the fact that he like
Hmm.
so easily came up with a solution to this problem, it's like, oh, it's just a curse. Like, no. Like he was I that whole conversation was bullshit in my opinion.
Right? Yeah.
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 Yeah. Just like Sayana, in my gut, I was like, wait, he knows. But I was hesitant to really put my foot down on that and say he knows.
Which
So,
goes back to
yeah.
question your thought, Ethan, in our first episode. What was his true motive of getting her there? I still cannot. It still has not
Right.
clicked in my brain.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I
I'm
feel like we're
one
missing
of,
something.
Yeah.
right. And I feel like I'm like one of three schools of thought about this, right? Like, because I don't want to talk about it too much because he is my prediction.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
but we don't have
But
to.
yeah, like he's a conundrum and I can't
Right.
tell if, no, I'll just save it. But yeah, like
Okay.
he's a
Yeah.
very perplexing character.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
So
mhm.
we'll put a pin in that for
Put a
later.
pin in it.
My third thing is about the Maedra. I
Mhm.
wonder if there are still any practicing within the Quen. Like, I know at this point their population has dwindled a lot, you know, but the way it was described, it sounded like they had whole cities that were dedicated to this practice. And it sounded like Leon stole from almost something similar to the magistry. So I'm curious, was no one able to save that tradition and history? And is there anyone out there who's still practicing magic in this way? And I wonder if that is the case, like if that will come up later on in the book.
I want to save my thoughts on that until my prediction. But the only thing I will say is that was a huge reveal. Like
Right.
whenever I was reading that about the pre-Tyrion Quinn being all women and that all of the high mages were women, I was like, the fuck? I was like, well, no wonder they're trying to make this new society all men, right? Because like they must have been pretty powerful to be shut down like that. And the
Right.
fact that like Tommel was trying to convince Sayana that Leon stole all this work and that he didn't do it for a good reason, like I was just really frustrated with Sayana. I cannot wait
Right.
to learn more about that. It honestly reminds me of reading Throne of Glass and finding out about the story of the witches. I'm like, yes, like I need to know this story. So I cannot wait to read more about that.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting component to bring in and very excellently timed and as far as the writing goes, because this is a huge reveal. And this is the conversation that sparked it all for things to change, to start happening in Sayana's brain. How quickly her belief system came tumbling down when they started having all of these conversations.
Talk about moral whiplash.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Poor girl.
And yeah, it's not a good day for Sayana. It is not a good day for her.
No.
Like and it kind of sucks because she's getting to all of these really important, huge milestones in her society, and she can't celebrate any of them because one, there's this stereotype against women, being in the position that she's in, so she can't really celebrate that. No one allows her to, except for Tomil. He takes her out for that drink. Great guy. Had this huge research breakthrough, but she can't celebrate it because it's quite literally caused all of her belief system to crumble, and for good reason.
Yeah.
So all of that just with the simple translation of a word. He's like, no, Maedra means witch, like female practitioner of magic, and girl, that's you, and you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Like as much as you have been led to believe, this was the origination of magic, so it seems.
Right. Crazy. So I know, Ethan, that one of your points was blight. Was there any more you wanted to add to that part of the conversation? I guess we kind of talked about it a little bit with my barrier point.
Yeah, and it's still just kind of stunning, on how the blight actually works, and once it sinks in and you have the gravity of that has sunk in, like, wow, how much death is on their hands.
Well, I was just thinking about that too. Like, y'all, I went to sleep thinking about all the deaths that happen in this book.
Yes.
And how it burdened me.
I lost sleep over this too.
I was literally thinking about this mirror that she created and how clear the picture was, right? And I kept thinking about the test itself, right? All of these people who are just testing to get in. Can you imagine how many deaths there were just in that test?
Yeah.
And then she thought about that, like, I just killed somebody just so that I could have a cozy fire right next to me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I would want to jump off a windowsill too.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was such an eye-opening moment. And then that made me think, I was like, well, the whole idea behind the forbidden coordinates was that they were told that's where the energy of the barrier comes from. So is that true? Because if it is, it's not through magic, right?
No,
it's not through them. I was like, so where is that energy source coming from daily that it's able to sustain that level of magic to keep their barrier open?
Well, I think it's coming from the lies. Sorry.
Well, yeah, it's just like,
I think it's coming from the lives that they're taking, the energy from each person.
So, like, we're saying,
like, eventually we're going to run out of population.
That's what I'm saying. So why expand it if that's the case? Why expand if it takes up so many lives,
Yeah.
So that's why I'm still thinking that the outside world, now knowing what we now know, I'm still thinking that the outside world doesn't really have all of these different societies. I think population is dwindling.
Yeah.
And that's caused her, again, why she was called up. Like, you need to find new sources of magic, right? And so I'll talk more about that again later. But yeah, it's perplexing. I don't know what to make of it yet.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm in the weeds right now. I need to find out more answers.
I told
For
I told
sure.
I told Stephanie that I had a dream that I was in that snowy forest or whatever that she saw, and that I was there, and I'm just like, how this is like just
Please, no, I don't
yeah,
want to be here.
this is like hurting
Yeah.
my heart. Like I'm dreaming
Yeah.
about this, right? And then
Right.
I told her that it was like, it was going in between me being in that snowy area, you know, with the whole like clear mirror thing. And then I was going back and forth between being with there and being with my nieces. It was just a really weird dream, but
Well,
you could
yeah,
tell
because it's like what took people's families.
this is all that I
So
was
it makes
thinking
sense
about
that
last
that's
night,
what
y'all.
your brain put together in your dreams.
It was so scary.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, the blight was one of my things. The founding mages, hello, you have some splaining to do. Okay. I
Big time.
was reading this, I was like, oh, they all suck. Like
Yeah.
they were some terrible, terrible people because
Right.
they put all of this in place. Whatever it is that they put in place has found its way down and waterfalled its way down in generations and has held strong. So yeah, and you can see how like some people can probably write Sion off as like, oh man, she's dramatic. She was going to jump out of a window because her belief system fell apart. Like that is her belief system. That is what she has held true to her
Yeah.
whole entire life. That is
Yeah.
why her belief system is why she is where she is. She may find a new reason to stay and do better.
Mhm.
But that is how she has found, that is what has driven her to be at the place where she is. And so if all of
Yeah.
that comes tumbling down, you have nothing left to
Mhm.
stand on. And
Yeah.
yeah, like that's scary.
And
That
also
is
the
scary.
question of like how many lives she has taken in the pursuit of her position as a high mage.
Mhm.
Like the one fire spell, like you mentioned, Jen, took one life. Add up all the other spells that she has ever written. And it's like, of course, I would also want to jump out of a window. Like that's awful. Anyway.
When
Yeah.
I was reading about her little breakdown that she had, I kept thinking about what they say about women and being too emotional, right? And that's why they don't want women in politics. And I kept thinking, no, there's a reason why emotions matter.
Because
There's a whole
if you can't
reason.
have empathy for the cost of human lives, like what are we all doing here?
Yeah. But yeah, I imagine Leon saying, that's cute. Okay, boom. This is mine. I discovered it. I'm going to make this better. That's exactly what
Yeah,
I
and
And then
imagine.
he based a whole religion on it so people wouldn't question it.
Exactly.
Well, they gave him, they started writing about him as if he had found some kind of stone tablet of like all of these
Right.
decrees. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
10
And it
commandments.
was revealed to him.
Like,
Yeah.
come through. I was like, that's exactly what we're having, you know, Moses on Mount Sinai. Getting the 10 commandments over here. And it made it seem like he came across these 10 commandments that had already been written for someone else. And he's like, ooh, those sound good.
Yeah.
I'm going to take them.
Yeah.
And like, that's what it made it sound like. And I was like,
Mhm.
The
man, you
mansplain
suck.
these.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah, basically. I was like, you really like are a grade A piece of filth.
Yeah.
And so it makes me even more angry that these traditions and prejudices have held up through time.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that's what makes me really appalled at it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I appreciate about this writing and how it
Yeah.
serves as such a commentary on
It's huge.
our world and our society. Like
Yeah.
basically the haves versus the have-nots is one major aspect of all of this.
And one thing that Sayana just kept repeating to Tomil while they were arguing about this is the Quen brought this on themselves. The blight was like they could have prevented it if they had just joined Leon.
I
And,
have
like-
thoughts on that. I have thoughts on that. I will
Yeah.
share them
Yeah.
in a minute.
Yeah, when we get to Sayana.
Well, when we get
Yeah.
to my 3 points.
Yep. So yeah, that's the founding mages have some splaining to do. And then Kara,
For sure.
hello, she's alive. We haven't heard from her. But what I do like about her, she wasn't in here much in this section.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Based off of who her character is, I don't know if we'll get much more of her in the future. I don't really think she really serves that purpose. What I do think she serves as a character is she serves almost like a palate cleanser for Tomil to come back to, right? To ground him
Yeah.
in his beliefs. Because we saw him kind of get swept away a little bit when he was doing this research with Sayana. And
Yeah.
it's not to say that he completely changed who he was, because he didn't. But
Right.
seeing him go back to his niece, read what he's thinking, right? He's like, man, they would be so proud of her. They would be so proud of her. She's a grounded Caldane. Like she's true to like her upbringing. I was like, but dude, if that's true, it's because you raised her to be that way.
Yeah,
So there's
like you did that.
there's that person
Yeah.
in you, right? It
Right.
hasn't gone anywhere.
The way he was describing Sayana's green eyes, and I'm like, oh, this dude has it for her so hard.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, he even told Kara
Totally.
that he does like her, but he was like, that's besides the point. Like, let me
Yeah.
tell you what happened today.
Well, since the betrayal, man, like, yeah, he was starting to, like you said, he
Yeah.
was
Oh,
angry about
absolutely.
trusting her and then talking about her green eyes and falling like into depths of them. I'm just like, oh my God, stop it.
I
feel
actually
bad.
love him and his niece's conversation that they
Mhm.
have.
Yeah.
He is like,
Yeah,
hey,
their
you know how
dynamic is
I've told you to never trust a
Mhm.
tyrannish person, right? Or a Tyrasian person. She was like, yes. And then you follow it up with saying like, that would be incredibly stupid to do. And she's like, so what's going on? He's like, well,
I
I
did
did
it.
something
been
stupid.
stupid.
I
It was
thought
a
that was
good
That's
really
sweet.
sweet. It was a good
conversation.
line.
Yeah. So if 10 years have passed, how old is she?
She was 4 in chapter 1, so she's about 14.
So my 3 points, I'm not going to add too much more to what we just discussed. One thing I will say is my first one was about the whole chapter 8. It talked about the whole religion behind, Sayana's beliefs. So the only thing I'm going to
Mhm.
add is that it was very interesting to see her going back and forth. She was just like, no, but this, no, but you might be right about that. But what about this? Like she was
Mhm.
just fighting it so hard. That was
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
interesting to read. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
she also left me very frustrated with her. I wanted to be
Yeah.
on her side. I wanted to keep encouraging her to hold true to her own beliefs because I mean, if somebody came to me and started questioning my whole beliefs, that's
Yeah.
not something you can just easily give up in one conversation, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But the one thing that she did say that really pissed me off, and you kind of already mentioned it, or Steph, is about the way she talks about the Quinn, right?
Yes.
So I was so pissed that she kept calling the Quinn uneducated and ignorant, like so
Right.
upset.
Very
She
condescending.
she just implied that the knowledge found in the mountains would have eventually been lost if they were left to the Quinn. So she says, yes, but currently these runes survive and thrive in Tyrion while blight plagues the Quinn. Surely the texts of Vinhold Mountains were ultimately safer in Leon's hands and more productive. I mean, look at what he created with that knowledge. He obviously, and I'm just like, excuse you, who are
Yeah.
you to call him stupid? And who are you to call his whole population and society stupid? You are no
Right.
one to say that. I was pissed. I was mad whenever I was reading
I
that.
know.
Because
Yeah.
clearly Leon stole that knowledge. He didn't even come up with it. He wasn't
Yeah.
even smart enough to come up with something like that.
Yeah. He just took it and said that, oh, it was revealed to me by God.
Yeah,
And now I'm going to
exactly.
write my whole religion based
Yeah.
on these lies. But it was stolen.
Yeah. So that was my first point. The second one we've already talked about, the origins of the witches, because they're really not called witches. They're called the
Mhm.
what is it? The Kiedra? No, the maid. What is it?
Maedra.
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 So they're called
Yeah.
the Maedra, which I
Witches is
think
what the founders were calling them to like dismiss them as
Right.
lesser than them.
right. No, the Maedra, which I think he said like loosely translated to sorceress or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we already talked about that. Such a huge reveal. Loved it. And then the other one was just on the blight, which we've already discussed. The one thing I'll add to that is that she was able to find that clear image after she found founding mage Stavros' lineage and magical
Mhm.
knowledge, because it turned out he was half Quen.
Mhm.
The other thing that I was kind of interesting, and I don't know if it'll play out or not, or maybe it's just like a little tidbit, but he was the creator of the barrier.
Right.
So he's the one that
Yeah.
created the barrier.
So
Well-
when she was trying to research into the Quinn and the Maedra or witches,
Mm-hmm.
she came across him being known as the creator of the barrier. And then that led her to finding out that he was half Quinn. And then she started reading through his mapping methods and spells that were written out.
Well, I'm wondering if that's going to play an important piece later, considering that he was half Quen, just because we know a lot of the true knowledge actually comes from the Quen.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just a thought I wanted to put in there, but yeah, no, we talked to
Yeah,
or we
for
already-
sure, because it was his mapping method that helped her create a clearer picture.
right.
Clear picture.
And it's what created the
Mhm.
barrier in the first place. Since we are questioning what is the point of the barrier at this
Like,
point,
what even
right?
is it? Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, no, lots of big moments, lots of things happen. Holy crap, y'all.
Yeah. I could
Yeah.
But those
totally
are
see
mine.
it as one of the higher mate, I guess Leon, because Stravos was his protege, we learn
Mm-hmm.
later on. But I could totally see it, Leon being, or telling him, hey, let's create a haven for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
And not necessarily telling him that it would be at the expense of his own people. And so I could
True.
see it like a little bit of a mislead, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And the gaslight there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because we don't hear much more about Stravos, or maybe like, did we hear about how he died or what his end was like?
No.
The only
So,
one we
so
heard
that's an
about-
interesting thought. Maybe he thought that they were going to create this bright haven for all people, and then maybe behind his back, it became what it is now, which is like a death factory, essentially, for the Quen.
Mhm.
I just thought of something, but I'm saving it for my
Oh.
prediction and tying them together because I was just like,
Okay. Well, okay. That kind of wraps up our 3-point section. So let's go ahead and move on over to our 2 character moments. So for my first character moment, actually both of my moments came in chapter 8. This was where like everything was revealed. So a lot went down in chapter 8. So
Yeah.
my first thing though is the conversation that Tamil was having with Sayana about this concept called vakul. So vakul is the way he explained it in like the simplest line that I could find where he was talking about it is like the absence of good that still has potential for good. So he said, you know, one of the things he said to her, it's not enough to have meant to do good if you don't do good. We call that vakul. And he also said to her that everybody and everything has a mix of good, bad, and a lot of vakul. So it all comes down to not what your intent was, but what ultimately the effect of your actions are.
mm-hmm.
And so tying that in with Sayana's meltdown about the revelations of what the actual blight is, and if you're adding up, obviously she had good intent the whole time she was pursuing the title of High Mage.
Right.
But again, adding up all the death that she caused, she even asked her Aunt Winnie, am I a good person? Because she doesn't know if she can call herself a good person right now,
Right.
knowing how much life she's taken.
Yeah.
So that moment for me and this concept of vakul was so cool to me. And I thought definitely something that I wanted to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second character moment, as I said, is also in chapter 8. During one of their conversations where they're kind of arguing back and forth about religion and the knowledge that Leon, maybe it was revealed to him, but most likely he stole from the Quen.
He stole.
Yeah. She was getting offended during this conversation because, you know, it was really questioning her belief system and her religion. And she didn't like that. But I did like to see her struggle with like, wait, no, I want to be questioned like this. I want to always hear the truth from you. So she said to Tamil at one point, she almost kicked him out of her lab, but then she said, no, she decided, I prefer that you be honest always. So even though she was angry at him for really holding her to account when they were talking about religion, she decided to like put her feelings aside for a second and then like ask him to always be honest with her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she backtracked a little later when they were arguing about the blight.
Right.
But like, I want to bring this moment up because I still hold out hope for her that she's going to come back to her belief in honesty. If she can no longer believe in her religion, can she at least hold on to truth, you know? Like that's what she stands for.
Yeah.
always, no matter what. So I hope that she can hold on to that and do something good in the end with this knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can handle the ugly truth, right? That's just
Yeah.
something that's really hard for people to accept. But that's why I also said, like, I had a really hard time with Sayana and these few chapters. 'Cause at one point, I kept rooting for her. And then another point, I'm like, dude, that was so ignorant for you to say. So, like, I was back and forth with everything she was doing, just like she was back and forth with herself. Because as she's saying, she's also having a lot of inner monologue thoughts, fighting this inner turmoil that she has, right? So it was just really interesting to read because, like I said, I was just like, it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and I feel proud of her, honestly. Like, she is incredibly infuriating sometimes when you're reading what she's thinking to herself. And what she even says so offhand, because it's all she knows. It's all it's she's been quite literally brought up to treat the Quinn as if they aren't people.
Right.
And so just offhanded things that she says or thinks like that, I'm like, oh, that's an example of your privilege, because you don't even think about it before you say it.
Right.
Like, it's just it just comes out of your mouth. So I get frustrated with her in that sense, but also proud of her because out of other characters that we've read, they may have had thoughts like that. I'm thinking of Jan from Beach Read, like she may have had.
I knew you were.
She may have had thoughts like that and would have stayed in that line of thinking without ever doing anything to change. Right. But she's actually willing to say, no, now, yes, I was mad. I was angry. Thank you. Like, we've had that moment. But now that I've had time to absorb it and learn from that experience, no, I now decide that I would prefer honesty. Right.
Yeah.
Because she asks, that choice of Tamil, like, he asks her, like, would you rather me, like, you can have both. Would you rather me be honest or respectful?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, you can have both, so choose. And she's like, well, I would rather you be honest with me. And that came after their whole fight with religion and disagreement with religion.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was very telling of her character.
Yeah.
Very
I
big
thought
of her.
That was a good moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, honestly, this is just an exercise of someone like deprogramming themselves, because like it's what we fall back on, what we were taught growing up, the things that we were told, we just like repeat them. It's a default, and it's so hard to deprogram yourself from that. And not everybody does it successfully, and it's not a linear process. You'll improve and then you'll backtrack, and I really am holding on to hope for her that she's going to do something good with this knowledge.
So my two, unsurprisingly, are Tamil and Sayana here. I think Tamil shows great character here throughout this whole section. He's still that like punching bag that she just keeps on coming to, and her colleagues keep on coming to. Like, he's like the lab assistant punching bag.
Yeah.
And he takes it because he knows he's gotta. And he doesn't take it with a smile on his face, but he still has some kind of optimism about him. It's really strange. I guess just steadfastness rather than optimism. Like, he's just, this is what it is. We just gotta power through. So yeah, that hasn't changed. I loved seeing some kind of emotion from him, even if it was anger. Like, let me know that there's something in you. Like, I think he's a great character, but up until this point, he's been kind of robotic. And so he's here now and he's angry. Oh, he's angry.
Yeah.
And he's guilty. Like, he feels guilt. And especially when he's talking to his niece, Kara. Like, he feels guilt about, traditions and that he's forgotten, but he's trying to instill in her and everything like that. So it's interesting getting to see his POV. And then Sayana. I've already said a lot about her, right? I think she's continuously showing growth. Not just one-off moments, but it's gradual. And we're there every step of the way. I love that. I loved her moment when she started researching with all of this with Stravos guy. So we learned that he was Leon's protege, much like she is Brigham's protege. So I thought that was interesting. He came from humble beginnings in the sense that he came from Quinn.
Yeah.
And she comes from humble beginnings in the sense that she's a woman.
Mm-hmm.
in a man's world. And so there's a little bit of parallel there that I picked up on that I thought was interesting.
And she also
I would
mentions
like to
that
see how that plays out.
she was
Yeah.
like on she went to public school and she was on scholarship at the university. So like, yeah, I hadn't made that connection, but I'm
Me
glad you
neither.
brought it up.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it might foreshadow some things.
Maybe.
But like Stravos ended up creating the barrier, which is a force of evil, essentially. And like, what is she gonna do?
Maybe she
in
could
her
dismantle
position.
the barrier because there's honestly no
hope
reason
so.
for it to be there.
There's really
Yes,
not.
right.
All
Unless
right.
you're a pig-headed bastard. You know, whatever.
Like they all are.
I made
All right, so my two characters, the first one I have is Tamil. We've already talked a lot about him, but there was just like this one moment where he made me really laugh. So I love the way he's just not afraid to challenge Sayana. He just pushes her to think, but I also love his dry humor. So in chapter 8, when he was telling Sayana about the Quen's history, he says, the really powerful magic users, the high mages of the Quen, were well-studied women raised by women like you. But thank goodness Archmage Leon took the Madra's texts and forced them off this land to found his superior civilization, right? I'm sure he knew better than they did. I was like, I love you.
that was good.
Tamil.
Like,
Yeah.
nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
He's like, oh, thank goodness he did that, right? Because he knew better. It's like, I
Right.
fucking love you.
And he knew that that would poke Sayana in the right way because like, you know, she's like a force against the patriarchy. And she doesn't agree that men always know better than women. So
But
he knew
she's
what he was doing with that
also
comment.
she's also like a hard believer of Leon. Like she was like defending him to the end. She still is defending him to the end. She's still saying he did it for the greater good. So
Yeah, we'll see
that
if
was
she thinks so
hilarious.
after her meltdown, though.
Oh, I
I'm
know.
curious.
I know. All right, so that was my my little character moment. So I was like, okay, go Tommel. The other one was between Sayana and Brigham, and it was in chapter 11 when Brigham was trying to convince Sayana that what she saw and what happened was all because of a curse, really, right? And I just really thought that, like, in my heart, I really thought Sayana was going to just blindly believe him, right? Why wouldn't she? This is her mentor. This is a person that helped her get in here. I was just like, fuck. I'm like, all right, here we go. Brigham's going to work his little magic on her, and she's just going to forget everything she just learned from Tamil. But I was really happily surprised that she questioned it the entire time. Like, not out loud to him. She was
Yeah.
questioning it to herself. And I was like, good. You know
True.
what? I
Yeah.
am so happy. She was picking up on every lie he was saying, on every way that it wasn't true. And I was just really proud of her for that. So, like, I just wanted to make sure I brought that up because I really did. I
Yeah.
thought that the minute he came in there and tried to, like, soothe her, that she was just going to fall into his arms and believe everything he said. Because I already know that what he's saying is, like, a load of bull. So I loved it. That was a great
Yeah.
Sayana moment, for sure.
Yeah, and during that moment, while he was trying to feed her this lie, in her inner monologue, she kept saying like, "I really wanted to just believe that. I really wanted to just accept it." But the logical side of her brain was like, "No, though. Like, the spellographs I was using were from after Saburnan's time. My spells were my own. I didn't copy anyone's spells, and like the spell paper I was using was my own. There's no curse written into them, so there's no way." So I'm glad that she like didn't just accept his like mouth-fed lie.
Yeah, no, I was really happy. Definitely.
Yeah.
That was good. And that's what makes me hold on to hope for her. I'm like, at least do something about it. Like, even if it kills you, like, do something about it.
Yeah.
Right,
For sure.
because I said it last episode where I was like, I need her to pull her head out of her own ass. And even Tomil said something very similar to that in this section. He was
He
like,
did,
you need
yeah.
to, he's like, you need to get your head out of your numbers or something like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
be with us for a second
Yeah.
and get those blinders off. Start questioning.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, awesome. So now we're going to talk about our one theory or prediction. Okay, so mine is that I think Saburnan discovered the truth also, and that maybe he tried to tell the High Magistry and either they didn't believe him or they tried to shut him up, and that's why he started killing other high mages. Because when Brigham and Sayana were talking about the curse that she was under, they mentioned that he had killed other high mages. And then she thought, oh yeah, they died behind closed doors in their own homes.
But did he
So-
though? I don't think he did.
So that's my prediction. I think maybe he tried to tell them the truth and they tried to shut him up, and he decided to just go rogue and start killing them off.
I think that you're right that he did discover the truth, but I think they killed him before he could say anything. I don't think he actually killed other high mages, unless it was confirmed
I think-
already.
They
I think other high
Brigham
mages.
said,
don't-
yeah, when they were talking after her meltdown, they both acknowledged and brought up that he had killed other high mages.
So it may have been someone did that to make him look traitorous,
Crazy.
like it was a
Yeah.
setup.
Maybe,
Or-
yeah.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
he did it assuming people would get the connection like, hey, if Blight is able to get in here, then obviously this barrier is not what it's meant
Yeah.
for. Like, it's not here.
You're right.
Because
That's right.
when Bingham brought it up, she thought to herself, oh, it happened behind closed doors in their own homes, and they never found out how.
Right.
And so where my brain went was like, he figured out how to create these windows, or he started siphoning from the forbidden coordinates
Right.
to target the high mages.
Yeah. To prove a point, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like to show evidence that that's what siphoning does.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Cool. I mean, I kind of think you're on the right
Okay.
track there too.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So my prediction again, I bring him. He's up to something. Now, I too read it at first that she immediately started picking up on his lies. I don't think that that's the case. I think she thinks that he believes that and that she just can't, knowing what she now knows, that he doesn't have that knowledge that she's privy to. Now that she knows, she just can't be the one to tell him that what they know is really not it. So I still, because of that, it's giving him some extra cover, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, I still think there's something off about him. I don't know what his intentions are, but I think he's bad news bears. His curse story seemed a little weak to me. I don't think he anticipated Sayana figuring out how to see a clear picture in the spellograph. Because now she's questioning even harder, and that's why he had to tell her that crap about curses, about Saber. And he's like, well, shit, I gotta think of something, because she's starting to figure things out and I don't need her to. So I think that is because if she hadn't seen that clear picture of that woman
Right.
and what her magic did to her,
She wouldn't have
She
believed
wouldn't.
it. Yeah.
she wouldn't have started questioning.
Right.
But now the cat's out of the bag, and he still doesn't have knowledge that she's figured out this clear picture because she didn't tell him.
Right.
So
Right.
what else is she going to be able to figure out while he is ignorant of the fact that she knows a big piece of information? Because if she had told him, I think she would be dead by now.
All right. So here's what I've been thinking the whole time we've been talking. Okay. So I'm going to share what I originally wrote down, and then I'm going to share what came up as we were talking. So at first, my brain is probably too much on Throne of Glass right now, and I'm thinking of Aelin and Manon specifically. But I think Sayana is going to find the lost Madras. I think there's still some out there. That's why I didn't want to bring it up earlier when you brought that up, Steph. I
Okay.
still think they're out there, and I think that she's going to find them and fight back against the council, because I have no doubt in my mind that they all know the truth. So when Sayana
Okay.
peeked into the other realm again to try and deny herself the truth, she saw like a whole civilization of people. So I kind of already saw that, like said that. So I think they're out there. Now, the other thing I was thinking about as you were talking, Ethan, about Brigham and his true motives, I think that he did know she was going to be able to open that clear window or whatever, because he was even talking about her using her own methods in the tests, right? So I think that he knew she was capable of doing that, capable of finding the real picture, so he could use it, steal her work and use it. I think that maybe he wants her to find the Maedras so that they can siphon that energy source because they are running out. Maybe. I don't know. I literally just thought of that like
Mm.
as we were talking. It could be like going nowhere and that be super far-fetched. I don't know.
No, I think that has merit because I was thinking similar lines when we started talking about majors in general and why they chose that spot to create the haven,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And so if they already siphoned that energy from the majors that long ago,
Mm.
so
They
now
need
they're
more.
coming to
Oh.
the end of that energy
Yeah.
source. Maybe they
Yeah.
need to find, so that would make sense. That would give her an objective as to why she's needed at this precise moment.
Right.
Yeah, like find where they all went so that they can make that the
Yeah.
next
Because this is a clearer
Bright
picture now
Haven.
that you're seeing. And so he could use that to his advantage and
Oh.
find them and use that for his own
But
advantage,
not for
right?
good,
Not for
for
good.
more of the
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still don't think that he intended her to find, because she could have still done that without a clearer image. She could have still found an energy source.
No, because she was even talking about how hard it was getting to be able to see clearly into that, and that's what that was
Hmm.
that was what she was kept running into, where she couldn't see beyond a certain point.
She said that she could only get up to a 94% clarity and she couldn't
Right.
take it past that. And then when she removed those restricted lines,
Mhm.
that's when it became like 100% clear.
I think he
Yeah, so
anticipated she would figure it out, and he's just going to play her off as a woman, an emotional woman, and just steal her
Hmm.
work.
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, it's for all that we know, the only thing that this improves is just a clearer image. So not
But she could see
necessarily
way
picking up on
more.
energy. She can.
She could see
She
way
can.
more of what was happening in the other realm. So I think that he's probably going to try to use that to try to figure out like where these Maedra are.
Mm.
My only no, because I think the rest of it, like, I think is spot on, honestly. I think that could definitely be the overall goal. I don't, for it to be her though, like, I think maybe in this next section is going to reveal how he planned on silencing her, maybe, because
Like what
I
his
don't
role
know
is.
him, yeah, being so close to her and having her as a protege. I don't think that he would have anticipated her seeing the people and still being okay with siphoning the energy from them.
Or maybe he was just banking on the fact that she was so like devoted to him. I don't know.
Hmm.
Or the cause, being
Right.
a Leonite. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
probably not
Yeah.
what they're
I don't
called.
Yeah.
know. That's just where I was thinking about like I feel like because it finally got revealed that the Maedra were a thing, and I think that's going to play a bigger piece into the story later, and the fact that they are
Hmm.
women high mages and they probably are pretty powerful. I mean, for Leon to want to
Yeah.
steal their work, they're pretty powerful and pretty smart.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how like that plays into
Hmm.
it. But that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like,
And like,
are we
just
having
like Bingham said to her before, when the women are a threat to the men, what they try to do is like push them down or
right,
cast them aside. And so, like, that's what Leon did with the Maedra.
right,
They were a threat to him.
right?
So he had to figure out a way to like make them basically disappear. But hopefully they're still
So
out there.
I know. Then that makes me think of, well, what went wrong with Renthorn? Because this would be his
Mm.
second attempt at trying to achieve the same thing, right?
True.
So
Yeah,
what
how does
Well,
it
went
play
wrong
into
with
maybe
this?
Renthorn?
Yeah.
I'm thinking like,
It's the fact that she's a
it's like,
woman.
well, would Renthorn remove those restrictive lines? Like maybe he's good at what he does, but within the bounds that religion gives him. But Sayana was the one who was willing to remove those lines despite her religious beliefs
Or maybe the Maedra
for the pursuit of truth.
won't answer to any men, though they will only answer to a woman. And that's why
Maybe she'll
Sayana
become
had
a
to be
Maedra.
there. Maybe I mean, she is a Maedra, right? Technically speaking, she's just not Quen, but she is a Maedra.
Yeah.
So,
I'd be interested to see if anyone else on her floor could do the same spell. And if not,
Mm.
then maybe it's only a woman that can get that clear image,
Ooh.
well, I don't know, because I mean, who the
Because
founding
she
mage
can't have been
is.
the only one to have tried it. She can't have been the only one to have
Right.
tried it. And so,
Well, she did mention that when she was reading through Stavos's spells, that they stopped trying to use his methods because most mages weren't
Were too
able to
complicated.
replicate his
Yeah.
methods. But
Right.
she was able to do it like basically on the first try.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because she is smart. I mean, like I said, she used her own
Mhm.
method and her test, and Brigham knows that about her. So I think that's why he brought her in.
Right.
All right, book friends. Well, that was the end of our deep dive on chapters 7 through 12 of Blood Over Brighthaven by Emma Wang. Thank you so much for joining us and interacting with us in our socials. We are loving those comments that we're getting. Next week, we're going to be discussing chapters 13 through 18. So be sure to interact with us on social media. We are Books Between Friends Pod on all platforms. Be on the lookout for our podcast clips and join us in the discussion through our comments.
So we finally learned the terrifying truth of what the blight really is, and let's just say it is not good. We also discovered that the Quen have a history of only women serving as high mages, which raises some big questions about power, tradition, and what that means for Sayana's role in all of this. And now that she knows exactly what happens when they siphon magic from the other realm, what does the expansion of the barrier truly mean for her and for Bright Haven itself? Next time, we'll be covering chapters 13 through 18, and if these last chapters were any indication, the stakes are only going to get higher.